Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another video of some F1 2020 gameplay and the very first F1 2020 game experiment. On screen now I'm currently setting a lap in the Ferrari because of course we want to compare the lap times between the modern day engines and the engines from the period of the late 80s and early 90s where today's engines come from. There will of course be more experience with later classic cars, but that is what we're going for now, to get a closer match as we possibly can. But yes, just want to mention a huge thank you to all the support shown so far on the F1 2020 videos. We're currently on 170 subscribers. The target for this year is at 200. So yes, thank you to all that have subscribed and watched so far. If you haven't yet subscribed, then please do so. Really helps me out. It's the big red button under the video. But yes, this lap is pretty much on. Of course, all of this stuff will be will be using the default F1 2020 setup, so there will be no thing. You can give this a try at home. The mod will be available to race department the day after it has been uploaded, which will be on Wednesday if you're watching this on Tuesday. But across the line, and it's 20.7, so here we are on the V12 in the Ferrari. A couple of things to note as we move to the actual lineup. A couple of things to note. There is two forms of this mod. Unfortunately, there's an issue with the gearbox. So obviously for time trial, I'm using manual gears here, manual and suggested gears. So that's why the times are a little bit slower, because I'm not optimal for changing gears compared to the game. But yes, there's two versions with where you can go into 8th gear, but I wouldn't recommend it because you don't get any speed in 8th gear. All the speed is in 7th gear, and the straights aren't long enough for 8th gear here at Monza in these with all 4 engines. But there's also but if you put, well, you'll see later on, but basically there's also with the classic gearbox, which works on all 9 cars except the Ferrari, which you'll again see a little bit later on. But this lap, we're currently about 3 seconds slower. Obviously we do have ERS in operation for these cars. Yes, it's probably a little bit down to me not optimal gear changes, but nevertheless across the line, and it's a slower. So we've moved now to the V10. Now I haven't included a Racing Point in this class yet because Racing Point's performance in the game is not the same as it's in real life yet. So obviously in future games they'll probably get added to this sort of second class, the upper midfield. V10, it sounds absolutely fantastic. But again, all these lap times are going to be slower than the current day V6. That is purely because the engine speeds from the late 80s and early 1990s are not as fast as they are today. In actual fact, the lap times are a lot slower than they were a long time ago in that era, because of course they didn't have as good as aerodynamics. They didn't have the computers that we have today telling us where to have manual gears and everything. So, but yes, what top speed can we get? I noticed we managed to almost get 200 miles an hour in both the V12 and the V10. I feel that these are very similarly matched. Obviously these two engines are from the same year of 1990. The other two are not, so it'll be interesting to see if there's a little bit of disparity, although the V8 is from the Jordans, so, but it's just Benetton used it in 1994, so Up to the line it's a 24.3, so similar lap time to the Ferrari as well, and we'll take a look at that at the end. So now we've got this lower midfield, including Alpha Tauri, Alfa Romeo, and Racing Point. This is the Ford V8, and already we're a couple of mile an hour slower than the V10 and the V12, who were around about 200 miles an hour. This only managed 197. And not only that, I don't think the acceleration is there on this car, on this engine, excuse me. Obviously we're running with the lower, so the chassis and the aero facilities are still the same. So we'll compare the times, but even so, the Alpha Tauri on its original run was actually close to the McLaren on the 2020 time trial. This feels a lot slower, and it's a lot slower compared to the V10. Obviously, we could run a similar program with modern engines, but for now, unfortunately, we haven't got any modern day V12s, because the last one we had was in '95, and that's not even on the game anymore. So yes, we've sort of hindered our acceleration down that back straight. We're currently 5 seconds slower up to the line. What lap time this is going to be? 25.9. Not really what we wanted there from the V8, but it is from a Jordan. But as I say, this is sort of transitioning from the era where engines aren't really that more crucial, the chassis being more crucial. And then of course we got the bottom two cars of course Williams, and I've put Haas here as well, even though they finished 9th in some of their in some of the performance charts. They're also the second slowest car anyway. But yes, we're on with the 1988 V6, which is a Honda, so two Hondas, a Ferrari and a Ford, featuring in this series, in this mod. But already, the engine. By the way, the performance engine thing is a little bit different for this car compared to the others. The others have got about the same number of programmable rows entered, if you get what I mean. This one's got about twice as much, the V8, so the V6, excuse me. So obviously acceleration, I guess, is going to be better, but overall straight line speed is about the same, similar to the V8 and the V10 and the V12. They are of course helping McLaren get their championships, but we're still slower than the 2020 car, of course. But as I said, we will look at that in other videos of trying to improve the 2020 cars with elements of classic period. But here's the full time. So the Ferrari was actually slower, the V12, than the McLaren with its Honda V10. Not by much, but I felt that obviously the classic times have got to be taken with a pinch of salt, because of course I'm doing the manual upgrade gearing, and then of course the 91 Ford, I think its top speed really hindered there, and the 88 Honda actually probably getting slower. But we're going to a race, and this is where the glitches started to happen, because when I went to a race with the modern day gearbox, all 19 cars other than me, because I could not shift out of first gear. So the gearbox was not there. You can see here they're all revving massively in first gear. I don't think the game liked this. It did crash. I did try and complete the race just to earn more points, but it did break. So I've gone and inserted the old gearbox as well. Unfortunately, that doesn't give us 7th and 8th gear, so we're going to be bottling out in 6th gear, but the gears ratios are a little bit wider, so although I actually found out we're only a couple of miles an hour down compared to where we were, so it's not, although it's not perfect, it's not the end of the world. Unfortunately, as you're going to see in a couple of moments, the Ferrari is still broken, and I don't know why. Yes, let's go to the race then. 5 red lights for the Italian Grand Prix, and it's a great start. Outside the side of the Renault. The Renault's got the same engine as there goes the Ferraris in there, stuck in first gear. We're going to try and get Bottas off the line. The three V12 powered engines of Hamilton, Verstappen, and Alex Albon are moving into the podium, but we move up ahead of Bottas as we look at our teammate is trying to overtake the V8 powered Alfa Romeo and is about doing so. In actual fact, the V6 powered Haas is actually doing very well compared to the Renault, but of course that lot got held up massively behind the Ferraris, which was annoying, but it's not a lot I could do. But you can see here we've jumped to lap 3. Hamilton's having to go up Verstappen down the inside into Parabolica. Nothing doing there for my fellow Brits, and we'll have to see if Hamilton can get here. We'll have DRS at the end, but we've got to, of course, have one eye behind us because Bottas now is coming through. There's a little bit of contact there. I imagine that's where somebody has hit the Ferraris. As we're going to double dive it down the inside of Verstappen. We notice the lockup. We hit Hamilton off, however we do give the position back to the champion, but nevertheless Verstappen locking up allowed us to go down the inside easily. We should have taken more care with Hamilton, but we did give the spot back to him, although we are closing with DRS. However, we can't make the move there into Ascari because of the 2 Ferraris there who are just trawling round at 1 mile an hour. So I don't get it. I don't get what's happened to the Ferraris because they have the same performance as the Mercedes and the Red Bull. So if anybody can figure it out, then let me know in the comments below and I'll try and get it fixed, and then update it to race department. But we're getting in DRS. We got more top. I think we got a little bit more top end speed than the Pierre Gasly's out the race. We'll have to look at that after the race has ended. But we do make the dive down the inside of Hamilton and up into, or rather the outside. It's actually a pretty easy move. This is 2 Mercedes make contact going into turn 1, and Bottas is going to get the better run out of there and will claim the final podium position. Alex Albon though is going to be the winner in his V12, so obviously Red Bull and the Red Bull and the Mercedes still going well. Hamilton gets Bottas out on the final corner, but for us and Carlos Sainz, it's the podium he didn't get at last weekend's Styrian Grand Prix. Lando Norris as well, so a good job from Sergio Perez there in the V8. I know the V8 was underpowered, but he did get ahead of Esteban Ocon. I'm not sure if they had damage, and the 2 Haas drivers rounding out the 10 and 11, and then Giovinazzi there as well. And everybody else really had to make a pits because they made contact with the Ferrari. But this is on board with Pierre Gasly. He made a bit of an iffy overtake because everybody was caught up by the Ferraris and he just sailed past. But this is what happened to Gasly. He literally slams into the back of one of the Ferraris, and that's causing the race over. He's coming down the pit straight. He's trying to overtake the Alfa Romeo and just goes into the back of him and loses his front right tyre. So yes, if you have enjoyed this video, then leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and you see more F1 2020 game experiments as and when they come out. If you've got any that you want to see on the channel, then let me know in the comments below. But until the next video, time, take care, thank you so much for watching, enjoy your day, and goodbye.